Welcome to the Smart Thinking Podcast. This is my dad, Ted.
Welcome to the Smart Thinking Podcast. I'm your host, Ted Knightsky. Well, here we go. Another year in the rearview mirror and an entire new year on the horizon. If you're a longtime listener, you know that over the course of the past few years, I've explained my thoughts on New Year's resolutions because I have a complicated relationship with the idea that people are going to simply completely change the next day. Too many people lack the true resilience to get themselves through an entire year with weight loss programs, fitness, mindset shifts, and people tend to peter out in February. As a matter of fact, just as a reminder, and I'm saying this with optimism, here's the research. Most people have a very fragile relationship with their new year. As a matter of fact, they say to themselves, I'm going to do X differently this year. But there's a success gap. Approximately 40 to 45% of adults make New Year's resolutions, and the vast majority of them do not see them through. The final success rate, research from longitudinal studies that I looked up, found that only 8 to 9% of people successfully achieve their resolutions after 365 days. And there is this low success rate because people explicitly make resolutions and they're not always successful. However, and here's the smart thinking, if you do make the resolution, you're 10 times more likely to actually change the behavior compared to those who just say they're going to change without setting a formal goal. So set a formal goal. And today, I'm going to give you a bunch of tactics to do this. The second thing that happens is there's a timeline abandonment that occurs. Most resolutions fail in the first 3 months of the year because there's a steep drop-off. Approximately 23% of people quit within the first 7 days. Every year I say I'm going to give up swearing. I'm pretty sure I swear by 8:30 on January 1st. But everybody else, almost 25% of us, stop in the first week. And the February fade, by the end of January, nearly 43 to 45% of resolvers have abandoned their goals. Why? Well, it's psychological barriers that are getting in the way. The research points to 3 things that happen: vague ambition, all or nothing, and neurological versus willpower. Vague ambition is when people fail to make very specific and measurable goals for their year. Like, I will do X by this date. I will do these things in between those dates. And, well, the brain just says, forget it. The all or nothing trap is many people approach change with a perfectionist mindset. And a single slip up, like eating a cookie or doing something, well, it just collapses the whole resolution, so I'll have to start over next year. And this is an interesting one. Neurobiology versus willpower. Willpower is a finite resource. Habit formation occurs in the basal ganglia, that's our brain, while new decisions are made up in the prefrontal cortex. And when people try to make big, sweeping changes all at once, they rely on willpower, which eventually exhausts, causing the brain to default to the old, ingrained neural pathways. In other words, our old habits. So what are we going to do about it? Well, first, start small and make it a habit. Be realistic. Create a goal and identify benchmarks and milestones on your phone calendars with alerts so that you see exactly when you're supposed to be doing things and are reminded that you were supposed to be doing it. And frankly, if you can do it off of your phone on a paper calendar, which I realize that whole industry's gone away, but if your mom still gives you, your Simpsons yearly calendar, put it on there. The other thing is focus on something meaningful that makes you better for yourself and others. And remember this simple process. Anytime you're going through change, stop focusing on the macro because micro leads to macro, which is why today I'm going to give you multiple micro strategies so that you can get to your macro resolution. And my macro resolution for you is to increase your mental fitness and well-being this year. And that's why I'm going to give you a bunch of micro tactics to help you get there. And we're going to start now and not wait for the first of anything. But before we do that, our weekly reminders. First, a leader is anyone who has influence over another person. And the most influential person in your life is you. Stop sitting around waiting for somebody to show up and influence you and start making the decision to be an influencer by just being yourself. Focusing on making yourself better every single day and remembering that everyone is watching everything you're doing. Second is followership, the idea that there are missions and ideas and expectations for us all to follow, and we lead while doing that, but at the same time collaborate with others to ensure our own success so that we maintain our engagement, work within our strengths, and work on something bigger than ourselves every day. Now, we do that by focusing on being empathetic and questioning the world around us, including using self-empathy tactics for ourselves. Like, what am I going through right now, and what do I need? And then doing the same thing for others. And that's where reflection comes into place. What went well today, and what do I need to change for tomorrow? And the one thing that we do every single day is we act as the buffalo and we charge into the storms that we are facing. So who owns the following 3 things in your life? Do you want the answer in advance? Because it rhymes with me. So who owns the following 3 things in your life? Your happiness, your mindset, and your engagement. The answer is you. You do. Nobody else. And too often we sit and we wait for some magical thing to happen where somebody makes us happy, or somebody helps our engagement, or somebody puts us in a mindset that we can do or can't do something. And instead, it's always up to us. So before we get into resolutions, of course, I have a quick story. And this was a flashback that I had as I was preparing this week. Because when I was a kid, I got the weirdest birthday present ever. I turned 12 and got a new bike, a 12-speed that was navy blue with yellow handlebar tape, my 2 favorite colors, and it was cool. My birthday is May 12th, and that day I rode that new bike to school, and I was flying around my hometown excited about my new bike. When I got home, we had a nice little birthday dinner that my grandma's came to, and then as soon as dinner was over and I blew out the candles on that cake, I took off on that bike, and I was just riding around. Well, I woke on May 13th to my mom making breakfast for my brothers and I, and then telling me that this afternoon a man was coming to visit me and I needed to be home by 4:30. I asked what it was about, and she said, "You'll see." I don't give that comment a second thought throughout the entire day. I didn't think about it at all. And then, as I was riding my bike around town, I remembered, I got to be home at 4:30. And there was a man I had never seen before sitting in the living room with my mom. I walked in and the man said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so from the Milwaukee Journal newspaper, and I'm here to explain to you about your new paper route." He asked me a couple of questions, and I started to sniff out a real conspiracy right in front of me. I thought to myself, this is why I got a new bike, so that I could get a job. He handed me the rack and the big paper bag and told me I needed to install that and that I would start the following Monday. He explained to me that my route, which was Milwaukee Journal Sentinel Route A9 in my hometown, and he showed me what I needed to do, told me that I'd be responsible for delivering the papers every day, collecting the fees, and paying myself from the collections. A 12-year-old boy with 75 newspapers to deliver every day, and I had to do the accounting? Now, I live in a city of 7 hills, all of which drain down into a Great Lake, and my route was on one of those hills. And you know what? My paper route was downhill. Thank the Lord. On and off my bike all summer, delivering the evening paper, the Milwaukee Journal, and on Sundays, the big morning paper. It was kind of fun because on my route was a small grocery store, a bakery, and the oldest and largest homes in the city, as well as some cool apartment buildings, some commercial areas, and some flats. The Journal was an evening paper with a Sunday edition, and in the 80s, those papers were big. Rain, snow, sleet, or shine, I delivered those papers. However, on Saturdays, in the morning, that was collection day. So, about 10 o'clock every Saturday, I would take my little accounting book and go door to door with my little bank bag that I had, collecting the next week's money for those who paid for the paper, or I had to do a monthly accounting for the people who paid monthly. Now, I have a complicated relationship with math and donuts. So many times I'd swing into the bakery spending that money on an apple fritter and a chocolate milk and then not have any cash for the week. But anyways, I digress. I also learned a lot about my customers. When they were home, who had stable lives, whose houses had dogs, whose houses had mean people, and where nice people lived. And there was this one guy on my route. And on my route was this cool spot where I had to ride my bike into this little courtyard behind a bunch of businesses, and there were 4 homes hidden back there. And in that area was a 2-level flat rental property. Upstairs lived a widow who owned it, and I would walk up each day and get her paper, and downstairs was a young guy. I'm pretty sure he was a banker. But Every Saturday, he would answer the door in his bathrobe, unshaven and a total wreck. During the week, he always looked put together, always had a suit on, was upbeat and funny, and he was a single guy, so he was pretty fun, and he was very engaging. As a matter of fact, one time I remember he chased me 2 blocks throwing snowballs at me, just laughing as I was doing my paper route. It was kind of haunting, but it was also fun. Anyway, on a Saturday, as always, at the same time, I walked to his door and rang his doorbell. It was the middle of winter. It was actually New Year's Eve weekend. But he'd answer in his robe and with his eyeballs swimming, as I would learn in college. He was suffering from a killer hangover, and each week he would just pay me. But on that one Saturday of New Year's weekend, I made it to his house a little earlier than normal for collections because I wanted to get home and watch football. He answered the door in his robe, holding a cup of coffee, and he looked like hell. It was freezing outside, and he walked out onto the stoop. He said, "Hey, paper boy, what's your name?" I was like, Ted? He said, "Ted, I have some advice for you." He walked outside, closed the screen door behind him, and sat down on the stoop, bare legs and a bathrobe with some slippers on. No shirt. I have no idea what was going on. Now, I remember this because it was a really interesting life moment for me. He asked me to sit down next to him on the cold stoop, and it was freezing, typical Wisconsin winter, and I could smell a combination of alcohol and coffee on his breath. He had clearly enjoyed his Friday night and New Year's at a new level because of the holiday. He owed me $1.25, and I was earning it. He put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "Now, I have some advice for you. A biblical truth," he said. I'll never forget. A biblical truth. He said to me, "Ted, you get yourself a job in life where you don't have to work on Saturdays." He shared that Saturdays are for recovering, sitting around, doing nothing, absolutely nothing. And he said, Saturday is the best day of the week. You have no obligations. You understand this, Ted? I said, yes. He then told me that every Saturday I was his alarm clock. And he didn't want to have to get out of bed every Saturday anymore. But he knew, and he always knows, I'm coming. So I always wake up a little early right before you're there. I put on a pot of coffee, and I just sit there waiting for the doorbell to ring. He said to me, Ted, I want my Saturdays back. He looked at me very serious, and I thought, oh my gosh, he's pretty upset. I don't know what he wanted me to do. I said, I can collect another day of the week if you want. He said, nope, I don't want you to do anything that would be harder for you. I just want my Saturdays back. I said, okay, well, what should I do? He said, well, give me Saturdays back, Ted. I just want my Saturdays back. I just want to wake up to nothing, read my paper, drink my coffee, and not lay in bed wondering what time you're going to ring the doorbell. I said, well, I can move you to monthly payments and just come once a month. He said, what would that cost? I was embarrassed because I had to sit there and try to figure out the math. $1.25 times 4 didn't come easy or quickly to me. He said, wait, it's $1.25 a week, right? I said, yes. He said, hold on, I'll be right back. He pushed off my shoulder as he stood back up, and he walked in the house. He came back, and he sat down, and taking a deep breath I still remember that smell of alcohol and coffee. Plus, I think I got a buzz from it. Anyways, he walked back outside with his checkbook. He wrote a check for the entire year and said, now, I will see you around, but I want my Saturdays back. And now, Ted, here's the check for the whole year, so I've got my Saturdays back. He then said, hold on one more second. He went back inside. He said, just don't move. And I came back out he came back out, and I put the check in my little banker bag, and he handed me a $20 bill and said, here's your tip for last year, and I'll give you another one next year that's twice this if you don't ring my doorbell any Saturday. Happy New Year, Ted. I'm going back to bed. This story popped up in my head for several reasons as I was preparing this week's podcast. First, I want us all to have our Saturdays back. If you could just pay $1.25 a week to have your Saturdays free, easy allocation of funds. Second, he was a distant memory, and over the years of my paper route, I saw him get married and move, and years later, I remember what I did with that $20 he gave me, because I combined it with some other money I had gotten for Christmas, used some of my little paper route profits, and I bought a Sanyo boombox, and my first tape ever at the Radio Shack in downtown Port Washington. That tape, Synchronicity by the Police. And third, now that I'm older, he took his Saturdays back with one micro action. So what's our resolution this year? Let's start with micro and take back our Saturdays, our weekends, and then our vacations. How about then working towards taking back every day? How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that by intentionally changing our behaviors one little step at a time. And I want to focus on how we need to change in order to be better for ourselves and then others. I'm going to give you 5 strategies to support yourself and your own well-being, and I'm going to really challenge you to try to do them, at least one of them, because micro leads to macro, and macro resolutions tend to fail. So if we start on the small scale, we can work our way to better mental health and better well-being for ourselves and others. Why? Well, we are all suffering from technological addictions. We've become slaves to the dings on our phones, the buzzes on our watches, and the constant neurological anxieties that come with needing to see if there's anything in the world that's happening. Algorithms monitoring our feeds, our searches, and all of our movements, all of the time feeding us more information to shape our thinking and ultimately our spending. All of that being done in a way that's actually creating dopamine addictions for us adults on our devices. And then we're trying to figure out a way to get our kids off of them while we're sitting there flipping up on our own phones. It all has a toll, and one of them is the complete loss of our time. I imagine the guy on my paper route. I bet you he got up when he wanted, and with no cell phone or computers at the time, eased into his day, made himself a pot of Folgers, ate breakfast, read the paper, probably sat there thinking, what do I want to do today? No emails to catch up on, only papers waiting for him on his desk on Monday. I imagine he called people on his landline to catch up or make plans and then decided when he was going to go grocery shopping. I'm sure he put on a Rush record and cranked it while he cleaned and did his Saturday, recovering from his crazy Friday nights by preparing for his Saturday night. I imagine that he had a great sense of freedom. Today, that's what you and I call a vacation. What are your daily habits and addictions, and what are we going to do about them? I and many others get up right out of bed in the morning, we grab our phones, and we get numb knees sitting on the porcelain throne reading emails, texts from overnight, and reviewing the news, sometimes getting sucked in to different social media platforms. Never do we ease into our days. We launch into them with our mind racing. Oh, to be the guy on my paper route, just one day a week. Wait, those things are happening by our choice. Why can't we be like the guy on my paper route? Well, I don't know about being all of the parts of him, but at least the part where he eases into his Saturday and he takes them back for $1.25 times 52. I still don't know the math. Anyways, personal well-being is something that I'm going to give you some tips on for winter break, a new year, a new day, or today. Because when we step into this holiday season or weekends, it brings a different stress. And we take the compounding stress from our work week into the weekends and holidays, and that can create other weird behaviors, feelings, and mindsets. So let me give you some tips from a lifetime of kind of being present. I'm going to give you 5 practical tips and ideas for you to support your well-being as we head into this break, into this new year, or just into the weekend, depending when you're hearing this. Tips you can take and share with others, and I designed them specifically for you. So I want you to really think about them. Now, I want you to think about these as 2 things. Number 1, permissions. Permissions for you to try. Permissions from a fellow leader. And permissions from someone who cares about you. And second, I expect you to do it. So, an unspoken expectation can never be met. And my first expectation is that you consider taking on this micro strategy for your weekends. I want you to execute a hard digital decouple. That's right. Like the doorbell on Saturdays, we're all conditioned to react to the ping of a notification, the vibration of our watch. But to be present, you must break the pavilion response to your phone and device. So here's the strategy. And you're going to think this is nuts. But when you have a longer weekend or a vacation, delete your work email app from your phone entirely for the duration of the weekend. Turn it off. You can easily go into your settings and just click off and click it back on Monday. You can go in there and check it. You can go onto another device and check it. But while you carry your phone around, which has become like a belt or a pair of suspenders to just hold us together all of the time, it doesn't need to be binging and sharing with us email from work. Now, the benefit for this is by doing a hard digital decouple, it stops the passive scrolling that you'll do. And that's a habit that keeps your brain in work mode. And if there's a true emergency, your world will find you because they have your cell phone number and they will call you. A hard digital decouple is really tough. I did it. I did it for 2 weekends. It was unbelievable. As a matter of fact, by the middle of the day on Saturday, after the first day I did it, I had forgotten that I had done it, and I kept looking down just by habit to see the number on that little gray square with an envelope on it, and the number never improved. Well, I shouldn't use the word improved. It never increased. Then on Sunday, I remembered, oh, I haven't turned this on yet. So on Monday morning, I turned it on, and boop, 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 boop. Now, some of you are like freaking out. Oh my gosh, if I did that, I'd have so much anxiety. I'd have so much work. I had so many things. Well, friends, if you create the conditions in your own work culture that you shouldn't be emailing on weekends or after 7 o'clock anyways, guess what's in there? It's a bunch of stuff you have to delete. I mean, I had like 50 emails from LL Bean from buying a sweater 9 years ago from them. Okay, the second practice is cognitive offloading. Yep, taking the stuff right out of your brain. We all have mental open tabs, lists of things to do, especially as we head into this month. But things like hiring and scheduling and budgets and getting back to people. And there's a lot of mental clutter that prevents us from being emotionally present. So here's the strategy. Going into your weekend, Friday night, Saturday morning, spend the first 30 to 60 minutes taking a break, doing a total brain dump, writing down every lingering work thought, a huge to-do list if necessary. Then physically close the notebook, put it in a drawer, and your brain will free you. Because it signals to your brain that the information is safe and doesn't need to be rehearsed over and over and over in your brain so that you don't forget it. And you all know what I'm talking about. So what do? Well, if you put it away, then you can be present during dinner or holiday movies or the weekend or just while you're reading. I don't know about you, but many times I sit down to read a book thinking, oh, this will be a good opportunity for me to really focus on what I need to do to be present as we move forward. And I'll go past 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 pages. Notice I skipped 7. And I will have to go back and start over because I wasn't present. I was thinking about other things. I was thinking about those open tabs. Write them down, close the book, put it away, be present. Number 3, implement first 2 rule. So our days usually start with immediate demands. Reclaim your autonomy by controlling how your day begins during the break. Here's the strategy. For the first 2 hours of your day, on a Saturday, do not check any device. Use this time for something purely physical or sensory. A slow cup of coffee, answering the door when the paper boy rings the doorbell, taking a walk or reading, sipping tea, staring at the sunrise. Just 2 hours of your day that you do not start out by checking a device. It's called first 2. The first 2 hours of the day. And the benefit for us is it regulates our nervous system and reinforces that you are a person first and a responder second. Again, if it's critical, it'll ring with a human being on the other end of the line. All right, that's the first 3. Now let's get to the last 2. Schedule active recovery, okay? By staying busy. True well-being for high achievers like all of you is often not found when you're sitting still. As a matter of fact, when you sit still, your brain engages and it starts to give you a little bit of anxiety and it draws you back to the work. We need to create other flow states so that we can do things without all of those thoughts intruding into our weekends, our days, our holidays, and our vacations, even our evenings. And the strategy is to pick one activity that requires your full focus to do and planning for it. Cooking a complex recipe, hiking a new trail, building something, seeing a movie, sledding, socializing, or like I do every winter break, doing some remodel in your house because you have to be present. I'm a carpenter by training, and when I have opportunities to build furniture or remodel something in my home or do something for other people, I love it because I have to be present. Otherwise, I wouldn't have any fingers. The benefit to all of this is it forces what is called monotasking, meaning I have to be present and do one thing. It's much harder to worry about staffing shortages and budgeting and the emails and the work and the students and the kids and the parents, the hospital network, the police department, the fire department, if you're not focused on burning the hollandaise sauce that you have to create or navigating a rocky path that you're hiking on, because you just have to be present. And you have to create these monotasking opportunities for yourself, which takes me to the last one. This is one that was introduced to me years back, and I think this is critical. They're called presence anchors. When you feel your mind drifting towards your school or life to-do list, when you're with loved ones, you have to use a physical anchor to return to the room, to be present. And this strategy is something I learned a few years ago. It's called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique, or simply put, you just have to touch a physical object and count to 5, or name 3 things you see in the room, and just move your mind from wandering and worrying into being present. I did it a few years ago. I was at a holiday celebration at my mother and father-in-law's house, and I found myself sinking into worries about work things. Now, it was December 25th. I wasn't going back to work till January 2nd, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm worrying about something 7 days from now. But I had been taught this technique. So what I started to do is I just started to look around the room looking for things that I wanted to know more about or understand. And I started looking at Christmas ornaments. Then I started wondering about the Christmas ornaments. And suddenly I closed one tab and opened another, and I was free. Now, the benefit to this is it interrupts the work thought loop and physically grounds you in the current moment, allowing you to be emotionally available for everybody around you and physically available for yourself. These are the type of micro strategies for well-being that you need to employ. Now, if you want to learn other ones, have the courage to ask the people around you, what do you do? You always seem present. How are you doing this? Establish all of the different strategies that you heard me talk about, but most importantly, be vulnerable and ask people around you how they do it. And here's what you'll find. Most people have no clue, and they're really not present. So you can create a little club of people all right, let's get together and be present. Let's do things and hold each other accountable. So which one of these are you going to do? I've practiced all of them. And last Saturday, I awoke, ignored my phone, went for my run, ate breakfast, read a journal, and started my day. Now, I have to be honest. I did start my run by worrying about what I might be missing on my phone. But after a few minutes and then a few miles, I was present. And after a while, I realized I don't really need to think about that. It's waiting for me. It'll be there. Now, I was a little anxious, just like you would be, but the day literally slowed down because I hadn't burned the first hour answering emails, reading news alerts, checking socials, and getting myself worried about stuff I couldn't control. I was present when I was running, and I felt the creativity strengths coming back into my heart, my soul, and my body. And I was in a good mood when it was over. I had an old-fashioned start to a Saturday. Wow! And remember, I don't drink coffee, so it was even better. Okay, if you're going to take back your life, you're going to work on your mental fitness, if you're going to resolve to do anything this year, let's take back our Saturdays, and then work to take back our holidays, and then work to take back all of our days. These well-being strategies I outlined reposition you to be stronger mentally, emotionally, and most importantly, more present for yourself and others. I love reading Marcus Aurelius's quotes and his wisdom and his ideas. But can you imagine if he had had a cell phone? If he had every single day woke up to just a constant barrage of algorithms designed to get him to change his behavior or do more of what he was doing? He would have never said this. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength. So, you have power over your days, and not what you have on your device. And once you realize this and walk away, you'll reclaim more mental real estate and be happier, healthier, and more engaged. All of which is your choice. So make it. So let's do some smart thinking. Which of the suggested tactics will you apply on your break and into your new year? List your daily habits now and review how you start each day, each weekend, each holiday, each vacation. And finally, describe other ways you can resolve to be healthier this year. That's it. That's the Smart Thinking Podcast. Hey, as always, thank you so much for listening. And please make sure to share this with others. This is a great one to send out to your full staff, the people you work with, the people you support, and especially those you care about. Let's make it a resolution to work together to bring back and win back our days from all of the technology that's constantly pressuring us. Please make sure to rate and share this. And also, thank you for caring enough each weekend to listen to the podcast or during the week when you do. And last, thank you to the Well Pennies for the great music. As we close out this episode, like we always do, we're going to listen to music from either the Well Pennies or Golden Bear Studios out of Des Moines, Iowa. As we close out for this year, please make certain to prioritize yourself. And as our good friend Greg Harden, who passed away this year, told us, be your own best friend. I've dropped in the description a few other things for you to consider: the YouTube page, the TikToks, all the different ways that you can motivate yourself daily. But I'm going to ask you something. Don't start your day with them and don't end your day with them. Just find them within your day if you need them. We also have a cool set of reflection cards that we just put together that you can get. And remember that you can always buy your Duke Storm books for your little ones. I got a great note this week from somebody who had said that I recently graduated from college and my mom wrote me a really sweet note inside your book. I then read the back of the book about you and how you found Allison to illustrate the book. And now it sits on my desk at my new job in my cubicle. And every day I look over and think of the courage that my mom wants me to have to just continue to charge into my storms. And I look at Duke and I get that. I just read that for you because I thought it was really sweet. It was motivating for me. And remember, those little Duke Storm books are out there to help you help others learn to be Buffalo. Okay. Happy New Year, or New Day, depending when you listen. Friends, I'm so grateful that you listen to the Smart Thinking Podcast each week and hope that you continue to get more from our weekly smart thinking strategies and discussions. Because I do. I love researching these. I love thinking about them. And I love when I get emails and ideas from all of you on different things to approach so that we can all grow and learn together. It's the highlight of my week each week as I record in the closet in my house, surrounded by the world's largest collection of Gap jean jackets. Okay, sorry, Megan, I probably shouldn't have told everybody that. But seriously, if I work with you, if I spoke to you, if I coached you, if I've never met you, thank you for all you do each day to advance yourself and then as a result, others. And to the guy on my paper route who's probably a retired banker living somewhere in Florida or Arizona, hey, thanks, man, for that $20. And I hope you still own your Saturdays. All right. Remember, always lead into your days, your new week and New Year's with a plan to just keep charging. Focus on the micro to get to the macro, because charging forward is what you need to do every single day to be better. And if you don't do that, well, that's a choice. But if you do that, well, if you want to, you will. And then there is a storm that'll never stop you, because every single day you will grow up, you will grow stronger, and you'll be able to charge into anything that you're facing. So focus on those micros, get to the macros, and then find the strength to go into any storm, because none of them will ever be able to stop you.
It's cold and terrible weather, but I feel as light as a feather. Snowed in the weekend next to you.
Bourbon and honey together, I can't think of anything better. Snowed in the weekend next to you.
Kokomo just doesn't cut it. Maui's nice in summer, but it's coziest when it's snowed in next to you. Dancing to Louie and Ella, no shoes, you're my Cinderella. Snowed in the weekend next to you.
This time you know I can tell her, darling, you're my kind of fella. Snowed in the weekend next to you.
Kokomo just doesn't cut it. Maui's nice in summer, but it's coziest when it's snowed in next to you. You and I spent winter dancing, held up in the cold romance, and snowed in for the weekend here with you. Doesn't cut it. Maui's nice in summer, but it's coziest when it's snowed in next to you. You and I spent winter dancing, held up in the cold romance, and snowed in for the weekend here with you. Snowed in for the weekend next to you.